So we're down here right now, just down from Senator Feinstein's office, and what we really wanted to accomplish today, we couldn't because well, first we parked in the white, and they told us to move on because there was a passenger zone, and we told them we knew that, but we still had 3 minutes to go. So, you know, regrettably, they allowed us to stay there for another 3 minutes. So we stayed there, moved on, went around the block, trying to get in the spot we got out right now, which is fantastic. But it took us 2 hours to get here, and all the action stopped. By the time we got here, nobody was here. So right now we're waiting for our comrade David to get out of Dianne Feinstein's, our senator's office, so that he'll be able to kind of brief us on what kind of a talk that he had with her representatives, because Dianne, you know, is pretty busy and she doesn't really have time to talk to the little people, and that would be us. But we are trying to make a little dent in this Syrian war effort put on by the Congress right now. So I did the build-up on this thing already. So Dave, you just got done speaking with our senator, our representative, Senator Feinstein. What happened in there?
Yes, I got to speak with her district director, Catherine Field. Catherine was very courteous. She listened to what I had to say. I left her a 2-page letter that I had written to Senator Feinstein this morning. Basically, the letter outlined that unlike Senator Feinstein's position where it's black or white,
yes,
you do nothing or you attack,
yes,
I said there are shades of gray to consider. So I suggested that, number one, she let the United Nations continue to do their research into this matter.
I guess actually that's their job, isn't it?
Yeah, I did inform her to be skeptical of any research and answers, such as Senator Feinstein should be skeptical right now of the intelligence community data that she's been given. Yeah. The intelligence community has been wrong before, as evidenced by the build-up to Iraq. I told her about Colin Powell's worst regret as Secretary of State is the false information that he was given by the intelligence community, along with his Chief of Staff, Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, regretting still to this day and becoming an activist himself. So I said, number one, be wary of that intelligence. Number two, if they do come out with convincing evidence that Assad is responsible for chemical attacks, that's when you start to implement the shades of gray. You have economic sanctions, you have diplomatic sanctions, you have trade sanctions. All of these are very effective in making a state a pariah state. The amount of revenue that Saddam Hussein was able to get was quite large through the black market. That will not be the case for
with Syria.
So I stress that all the way up, including to an arms embargo by all of the arms suppliers currently supplying both sides could be implemented and eventually be very effective and end the war over there. And finally, taking Bashar al-Assad to the International Criminal Court for prosecution. That would work effectively as well. But there are a wide variety of things you can do with immediately, since we did sign the Chemical Warfare Convention in 1989, there are methods for dealing with that through the United Nations. So I gave her 4 or 5 different options to talk to the senator about, in addition to expressing skepticism, like I said.
Well, it just seems like it used to be that we had some form, or at least the shades of diplomacy. Now, it's either bomb or don't bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like there's nothing really in between anymore.
This has been what I call the militarization of diplomacy.
No, exactly.
So you've taken the State Department basically out of the equation. You've put the military forefront with the executive commander-in-chief being judge, jury, and execution. So that's not how our country has fundamentally been run the last 200 years.
That's the way I remember it.
This is a dramatic shift that started in Bush, but would have never been so bold as to the ludicrousness of Bush's foreign policy and warmongering would have never been this brazen as Obama. Obama right now is suggesting that he can go to war because as he alone decides to go to war, with or without congressional approval, with no international mandate, with no Arab League mandate, with no United Nations mandate, with no NATO mandate, would have been unimaginable.
Isn't that a clear-cut act of war?
I expressed to her the parallel of what would happen if Syrians decided to launch a couple of missiles at the White House or Congress. Would we consider that an act of war? Which she agreed probably would be considered an act of war here. And I told her that one of the things that has me upset about Secretary of State Kerry's statement of, well, we're not going to declare an act of war because we're not going to have boots on the ground.
We'll have boots in the air, though.
Is ridiculous.
Right? We're going to have the boots in the air.
Use military might to strike another country. That is declaring an act of war. And finally, I closed out with her by telling her that irregardless of who is responsible for any chemical attack over there, that by us launching military strikes against a foreign nation, we will be killing people. We will be killing people that in a lot of cases are innocent. Yeah. And I said it doesn't matter to me whether they're innocent or guilty. Yeah. You do not need to solve a situation like this by going and killing more people. Yeah. I told her that every single one of those people that will be killed with our missile strikes will have brothers, sisters, fathers, sons, mothers, daughters, cousins, aunts, uncles. It will change all of the remaining people that are left alive for the rest of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it.
I think I did a good
no, you did a good job, man.
Good
I
chat
appreciate
with her
you taking
30
a couple
minutes.
minutes.
So hopefully it gets to the center.
All right, let's go on to the next protest.
Okay.
Hey, we're standing here live at Veterans for Peace. This is 2 days before September 11th. This would be the 9th. So we're here right now, and we're talking to the passers-bys. And as you can hear, occasionally we have horn honks. We have signs put out along the freeway, and basically what we're saying is we don't want any more fighting. We're done. We don't need to be in Syria. We don't need to be in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, you name it. We don't need to be in Africa. We're everywhere. Right now we're in about 100 different engagements all over the world. I know that sounds crazy, but we're in like 46 in Africa alone. And now they want another one. So Dave just got back from talking to Dave Gap, Colonel Dave Gap, just got done talking to Dianne Feinstein's office and laid down some of the principles that we believe in, and that we don't want any more fighting, no more war. We're done with it. At the bridge, 6th Avenue Bridge down in San Diego, and we're talking to a couple of Veterans for Peace. And it looks like right now we're trying to avoid the current war, which is what, Syria now? Yeah. It's about 5 or 6 and counting right now. So, what do you guys? Are we having an effect here, or what's going on? It sounds like it, huh?
We're having a little effect. Yeah. We need to do this. We need to make sure that they hear us, especially the congressmen, and do not vote for the resolution that allows bombing in Syria. The data is very weak. It's basically a political agenda with a very weak set of data, and it doesn't represent the American people. It doesn't represent the Syrian people. If anything, it's a show of force so that we can then do bombing in Iran, and that's a terrible thing for the United States to be doing, dropping bombs to send some type of a political strategy message for yet another stupid war. It's disgusting.
So what's your take on it?
I was watching the news today, and all the major networks were beating the war drums for the war. And I saw Dianne Feinstein on, and she was asked by the reporter, are you hearing for your constituents? And she hesitated and said yes. I said, well, what are they saying? He said, it's very negative. So
Negative in what sense?
Against the war.
Okay. So for her, war would be positive then, I guess.
I guess so.
Okay.
And the most interesting thing was when the Russians made the proposal that Syria place all of its chemical weapons under UN control and that they relinquish control over it in Syria, get them out of the country. And Russia heard this proposal, made the proposal, Assad accepted it, John Kerry heard the proposal and said, this would be acceptable. He thought it was really a good starting point. Then the White House got a hold of it and said, hey, wait a minute, this is off message.
Yeah, we can't have you guys negotiating.
We can't have you message.
Yeah,
this is off message.
Wow.
What are you going to do with all these bombs we got ready to go?
Yeah.
And so they start backpedaling. Now they're got their backs to the wall. I don't know what they're going to do. It'd be interesting to hear what Obama has to say tonight. He's going to speak on most of the networks interview type things, and for example with Wolf Blitzer. It's going to be see how they spin this thing now they're backed into the corner with a really positive peace proposal.
Well, hey, I got to ask you guys this question. Do you think there's an outside chance that he's just, Obama will run with it by himself like a dictator would? And if so, what do you think the consequences of this country would be? I mean, if he really separated himself from the herd and just ran with it, man.
Well, it's pretty stupid.
I know, but do you think that's possible?
I actually don't think so. He's in some ways, he's a decent politician.
Yeah.
And I think the political wind is against him so badly.
Totally. It's a hurricane, man.
Yeah. The only thing he could do is maybe, you come up with these crazy ideas. If he falls on his own sword, maybe it leaves room for another Democrat to be a real pro-peace, anti-war president the way he made the case for originally. And that might actually politically work pretty good, but it's a pretty far-fetched political strategy. But no, I don't think he's that stupid.
Okay.
Myself, I don't know.
I don't have the confidence in the guy myself. I really don't. I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. God.
The political consequences would be suicide for the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
I really think.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Suicide.
I know. But what if the Democratic Party isn't deciding this? What if it's somebody else behind the curtains deciding this?
Is there an axis of people, nations out there that are dictating to us?
Yeah, is it? We'll find out, won't we?
Saudi Arabia is one of the high funders. They contribute far more to these wars in the Middle East than we do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
AIPAC is putting full force into promoting war on Syria, so I think that says something for the Israeli point of view.
Yeah.
My sense is that they would like to see a stalemate, a bloodbath for 100 years, and so bombing Syria or bombing Assad's forces would help the stalemate, and that would be their agenda. I think that's disgusting. I think it's immoral, and I think they have a lot of sway in the United States government, way more than they deserve or we should allow. But that may be the force that pushes this forward. Sorry to say.
Yeah, I know. I hope not.
But there are some moderate and rational voices within Israel, and they realize that when you kick out a dictator who's been in power for generations from family to family, you create a vacuum and it brings in the really evil radicals. And that's what would be worse for Israel than Assad.
That's right. At least he's a known individual, right?
He's a known...
I think we've been across this bridge a few times before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Saddam Hussein was a good example of that. At least he kept peace over there. Now with him gone, what happened in the last 10 years? Katie barred the door.
A lot of Iraqis say things were better under Saddam Hussein.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think they were too. At least he kept things together.
They had schools, they had water, they had power, electricity.
Yeah.
Their sewage treatment systems worked.
Yep. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, you mean Tom?
Yeah,
Talk to him.
He's involved. Yeah.
No, I'm not.
So again, we're down here with Veterans for Peace, and we're just talking to a couple of the attendees, the people that are actually drawing attention to the fact that we need to stop the progress on this war. And I'm just going to ask them why they're here. Why are you guys here?
Well, we're here because we believe in peace, and there's been enough wars, and we've heard all the excuses to go to war. We need more excuses to stay at peace, and someone's got to stop these actions with peace instead of war.
Right.
It's just aggression hasn't solved anything so far. And
Well, the last couple thousand years.
the last couple thousand years.
Yeah.
And I think if we want to be the strongest nation in the world, whatever, we have to be the most peaceful.
So you guys are down here trying to promote peace, and that's basically
We
what
are. And
it
most
sounds like
of the
we're getting.
people seems like want peace.
We're
We
getting a good
got couple of
response here, aren't we?
fists. Yeah, we
I
are.
mean, I've been down here a few times, and I've never heard this many horns honking for us
that's
and
awesome.
waving their hands. In fact, we were here a few months ago, and it was like half as many people.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I wish that for every honk we'd get a call, to your congressperson
All right.
or something like that would work. It's not that hard.
Well, we got the big toot there. Hey, thanks for being on here, you guys. Appreciate it.
Very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So this fellow's name is Barry. I'm Rob, and so Barry, tell me about today's experience here for you, and do you think we're making progress? And
I really do, Rob. I think that, I've been here for all these demonstrations on 6th Avenue, and the number of responses that you're getting by the horns honking, by people passing by 6th Avenue here, it's just more and more every time we're here. I think the American people are...
exactly, isn't that beautiful, man?
The American people are really sending a message, I think.
Yeah.
And I believe what we're going to find out with this vote in Congress, we either have a plutocracy run by the military-industrial complex, or we've got a democracy.
You are right.
We are going to find that out this time. The people's voices are going to be heard, or our government is going nowhere here.
Exactly
and it's just
right.
it's going to be really bad. I give Obama credit for going to the Congress in some respects, but he should have done that anyway.
Right.
That's what the Constitution requires. Right. And I think the thing that bothers me is that a lot of the people showing these horror pictures of kids being killed and all that, and it is terrible, and it is horrible. My wonderment is that when we send our cruise missiles in and we kill hundreds of civilians and kids, will they show pictures of that on national TV to show what we've done to these people?
They stopped that in Vietnam, man.
Right. Well, here's the thing that bothers me too, is that regardless of whether Congress votes to authorize this, under the Constitution, Article 6, we are bound by certain treaties. One of the two treaties that I always talk about is the Kellogg-Briand Pact of 1929 that outlaws war as an instrument of national policy, and the signatory nations, there's 62 of them in the world, including the United States and virtually every NATO country, and we pledge that we will resolve all conflicts of whatever source by peaceful means. That language was put into the UN Charter, and the UN Charter in Article 2 says we will resolve things by peaceful means, but not only that, you violate the Charter if you attack any country, any sovereign nation, unless you're doing it in response to an attack on you, or you're eminently in danger of being attacked by that country, or the United Nations authorized the action. Well, we're not in any imminent danger of being attacked by Syria. They haven't attacked us. The UN hasn't authorized it. So we're still violating treaties which are the supreme law of the land. So it's unconstitutional.
Yes.
And to think of the consequences that could happen if we go ahead and do this in the Middle East, I think it's a tragedy. This is the main problem that is going on in the Middle East right now is the UN is saying that with the massive refugee problem from Syria, from Iraq, all these countries, it's creating instability in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So what could President Obama do? Say we have to respond to this, right? Well, let's respond in a way that makes us think outside the box. Let's have the president go to the United Nations and say, you know what? For the first time, the United States is not going to get involved in an unnecessary, unjustified, and illegal war. What we're going to do is we're going to take this money that we could have spent on bombing another foreign sovereign nation that hasn't attacked us. We're going to give this money to the UN to use in its refugee camps. And we call upon all the nations of the United Nations to join us in this effort to resolve the suffering that we have caused by our wars in the Middle East.
Woo, Barry, you're smoking, man.
Yeah, so I think those are something that we can do. And I think the people in the Arab world, those Muslims who look at us as the world's bully, which we are, I think we can change some hearts and minds by saying, wow, the United States isn't going to use weapons, they're not going to come after us, they're sending us food and help. Those are the things that we can do. And so there are positive responses that we can make.
You're inspiring me, man. Can you imagine the impact that would have?
I know it.
I mean, we would get some respect back.
We
as
would.
A nation of leaders.
And did you know this? Between 2010 and 2012 in Somalia, where we were sending in drones and killing people, 260,000 people died of starvation from the famine that was going on there. Nobody knows about that. I read that on the BBC the night Jeremy Scahill was speaking here in town. And I said, Jeremy, it seems to me that, when I had a chance to talk with him, it seems to me that if we would have spent a lot of money helping all those people who were starving to death, what do you think the reaction would be in the Arab world? Because you spent a lot of time there. He says, I can tell you it would have been unbelievable. We would have changed the hearts and minds of people. So I don't understand the resort to war first and
diplomacy second.
Diplomacy,
a distant second.
I mean, this is a chance for our Nobel Peace Prize winning president to say we're turning track. We're going to try a different option. I think we can make a difference in the world. Let's do it. Let's hear the president say that.
Barry, I want you for president, man. Let's get Barry for president. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime.